Greetings, guys, gals, and non-binary pals, and welcome back to another video. The other day, someone sent me an email asking me to look at some sinfest comics, and I realized that I have not done that for a really long time, so most of you have probably not seen those videos. I have looked at sinfest comics twice now, but they were like a year and a half ago, so a lot's happened since then. They've not gotten any better, so that's fun. So I thought we would sit down and we would have a look and see what Sinfest has been up to. If you aren't aware, Sinfest is like a really long-running like newspaper comic. They're not in the newspaper anymore. They are primarily on Twitter, and I believe he has a website of his own. But they used to be very like feminist comics. A lot of my subscribers, a lot of you guys used to read these comics and enjoy these comics, and then they kind of took a turn for the terf, and not anymore. They're now like very just transphobic, homophobic, anti-woke. That's the whole thing. That's the whole deal. So yeah, we're going to look at that today. But before we get into it, I would like to take a moment to say thank you to today's patron of the day, Taylor. I appreciate you and all of your support. Thank you so much for joining. If anyone else would like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/savvycat. Click the top link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month, and it means a lot. I'm starting to do more music stuff now, which I will be updating on Patreon for different tiers of what I'm doing there. So if you want to keep in the loop about that, that's where to find it. And if you didn't know that I do music, I do music, or I did music, and I'm currently trying to do it again. And all of my songs are available on all streaming platforms, which is in the description. Anyway, that aside, the video. Let's get into some Sinfest comics. Buckle up, because it's not a good time. So we start off in a classroom, and the teacher is holding 2 dildos, and it says, "Let's review. Butt plugs and dildos are for play. Packers are for creating a penile bulge." And then sees a backpack that is camo with a Doge patch, a Bitcoin patch, and a "Don't Step on Me" patch. And she says, you can't bring that into the classroom, while she's holding the 2 dildos. Or I guess one of them's meant to be a packer. I don't understand how these people have interpreted us wanting age-appropriate, comprehensive sex education in schools as coming in and talking about dildos in a room of 8-year-olds. Like, how did you get here? Why are you just fear-mongering? Why are you out here pretending this is a thing that is happening? No one is bringing dildos into class, especially not into a fucking primary school. That's not happening. That's not happening at all. Also, packers aren't sexual. There's nothing sexual about a packer at all. It's literally just about, like, gender affirmation. And so I don't really understand your problem with that at all in the first place. It's not really anything about it that's like sexual or inappropriate at all. In general, they're not talking about pleasure in a classroom of like children, you know? However, I do think at an age-appropriate level, as in when you're into high school, that should be a part of the conversation. And I know that's a controversial take for whatever reason, but I do think it's important. I think starting young, we need to learn about our bodies, you know, and consent. That is very important. You should start that very young, because you need to know how to name your body parts. You need to know about consent and what isn't okay. That is very important. You need to always do that. And then I do think when you get to high school, you absolutely should be learning about pleasure, because like a lot of people now, a lot of kids learn about sex through porn, right? Is that good? No. Should kids have access to porn? Absolutely not. Do they? Yes, they do. And so a lot of the time, that's what they learn about sex. They learn about it through porn. And a lot of the time, that is objectifying and hurting women, right? It's very often very like penis centric, and it comes down to just like abusing women effectively a lot of the time. And so like we are sort of taught this dynamic, because it's not taught at school, that sex is meant to be pleasurable for men and just something that happens to women, you know? And I feel like if we learnt about pleasure more at school, then I could have saved myself a lot of harm because my abuser told me that sex was meant to hurt. I was meant to be uncomfortable. I wasn't supposed to be comfortable during sex. It was meant to be painful. That's how it's meant to be. That's just what sex is. And like, I didn't know any better. You know, no one talked about that. No one taught that, you know? And like, I was 14, right? Like, and you can say that that's not age appropriate all you want, but like 14-year-olds are having sex, regardless of what you're being taught at school or not taught at school. 14-year-olds are having sex. A lot of people I know, a lot of people I went to school with, started having sex when they were 15, right? That's the age group of when people started having sex, was like 15, 16. Not everyone, but like a lot of my friends, a lot of people I knew. And so like, you do have to talk about that, because a lot of them were also in situations where it's not about you. You don't learn about your pleasure, and you don't learn about how to communicate what you want. You don't learn about how to express that you're uncomfortable. You don't learn about any of that shit. And you can say that that's not appropriate all you want, but like it is appropriate, because kids do have sex, whether you think they should or not, doesn't matter. It's happening, and it needs to be talked about at school so that kids can keep themselves safe. And they can prevent like abuse from happening. It can prevent STIs. It can prevent pregnancy, etc. It's all so important. Not in like the 3rd fucking grade. You're not coming in and talking about pleasure and how sex feels good and how to like communicate that to your partner when you're 7 years old. Get your head out of your ass. That's not happening. But when you're older, it should be a conversation. That's all I'm saying. Next up, we have this like small child pointing at a woman saying, "You look like a lesbian." And this woman turning around, pointing a gun at her and saying, "You're under arrest, assault with a deadly weapon." So she says, "What? What weapon?" And the lady says, "Your hateful bigot mouth." What? What? No one cares. Literally, no one gives a fuck. Especially when a child says, "You look like a lesbian." Like, it's a weird thing for like someone to say, you know? It's like not very polite, sure. But like, it's not worth getting like mad about when it comes from a child, especially, right? People assume I'm a lesbian all the time. And it's frustrating because I constantly say that I'm not, and I have to express and remind people that my name is the queer Kiwi, not the lesbian Kiwi. And like, I know that queer is an umbrella term, but I identify as queer. People always call me a lesbian, and I'm not, and I've said that so many times. So it's frustrating, but like, I don't like care to the point where I would point a gun at someone. I don't think anyone cares that much. You can be slightly annoyed, right? And be like, it's an annoying thing for you to say that to me. Or like, just even say like, that's a bit of a stereotype, you know? Being like, you're stereotyping me, maybe don't make these assumptions and don't say these things to people. That's fine. No one's getting legitimately angry about it unless it's someone in your life who has done it time and time and time over, and they are doing it deliberately to hurt you. That's the difference here. It's about intent. If someone is constantly saying, "You look like a lesbian," I'm like, "I'm not a lesbian, please stop stereotyping me," and they constantly will keep calling me a lesbian, then I'm gonna get pissed, you know? I'm gonna get annoyed because I'm like, you're disrespecting my identity on purpose, and that's not an okay thing to do. But when it's especially a child just saying shit, because kids just say shit, no one cares. No one gives a fuck. No one cares. Kids say so much worse. When I was a child, I asked my 16-year-old cousin who had an eating disorder if she was pregnant. Not because of how she looked, but just genuinely I didn't understand where babies came from because I was like a child. And in my head at that time, I kind of thought that everyone was pregnant all the time and you just got to choose when you wanted to have a baby. Like, that's how I thought it worked. So I like asked her, which was obviously incredibly inappropriate. Like, what? I didn't know. Kids don't know any better. They just say shit. Some things hurt more than others too, but like having a child be like, you look like a lesbian, no one cares. This is a career day at school. And there's a stall that has a bunch of dildos and it says sex work for kids. And the kid's like, what? You can't do that. What the heck? And the person at the stall says, it's okay. I have a permit. And it's just a piece of paper that says I can do what I want with a pride flag, a rainbow, and a trans dildo. I have no words for some of these because literally in what world are you living? What plane of existence are you in right now to make shit like this and think it holds even a slither of reality? I'm incredibly worried about your worldview. Because how did you end up here? How did you end up here? Why are you constantly drawing sex in schools and this sex work around children and just obsessed with this idea of sex and kids? And you're saying you're doing it to critique us, but we're not saying this. But you really love drawing it. And I'm gonna need you to reflect and I need you to get some help. Because what the fuck is going on? This isn't happening. This would never happen. No one is trying to sell sex work to kids. What is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? Also, the whole thing of it's so weird to imply that the majority of sex workers are queer, because they're not. They're not. A majority of sex workers, just like a majority of the population, are straight. Cis-het people make up the majority of sex workers because cis-het people make up the majority of the population. Really it's so weird. It's so strange. This next one is 6 parts, so you're going to have to bear with me. And it's called Chest Feeder. It's the same character that they keep using, going and taking a bunch of female hormones and then seeing a mother pushing a pram with a baby in it. The baby is crying. This person is upset, and so they go to the adoption agency. They adopt a baby, and now they're sitting on a park bench, chest feeding, and they have deliberately drawn this trans woman man spreading with showing her underwear and a bulge. Because of course they did. Because they see that as a necessary thing to do. And then the other mother, who is breastfeeding, looks at her and says, that's sick. And she says, I'm a mother performing her motherly duties. And the cis woman says, you're a sick man with a sick fetish abusing a baby. And the trans woman says, that's violence. You just did violence on me. So the cis woman says, I'm reporting you. And they say, ha ha ha, you have no power here. This is trans country. And she says, you won't get away with this, pedophile. And then the last frame of this is the trans woman saying, watch me, with politicians behind her. 911, what's your emergency? There is a man forcing a baby to suck on his nipple. Whoa, 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 slow down. Are you sure this person is a man? Did you ask for their pronouns? Have you considered their feelings? And that's how that goes. And migraine, nightmare. I truly don't understand how you can think this, how you can get here. I don't understand how it's any different. I just truly don't understand the difference. They're the same nipples. If you, as a cis woman, are breastfeeding your baby to have that mother-child bond and to give your child the nutrients they need, and you're not doing it for any ulterior motive, because that would be fucking weird and gross if you were, then why can't you understand that trans women are literally just doing the same thing? Trans women are mothers, and they want to have that same bond with their child as you do as a cis woman, because that's a magical part of being a mother, And there are a lot of cis women who aren't able to breastfeed, and some cis women will end up taking hormones or other. And then some cis women end up taking hormones in order to produce breast milk so that they can breastfeed their baby and have that connection with them. It's not exclusive to trans women. Some cis women also don't naturally produce breast milk or enough breast milk to breastfeed, and are you gonna say that's gross and wrong? Trans women are women, and they just want to breastfeed their babies, you know? Like, it's truly not that difficult to understand. It's not for any ulterior motive at all. I don't know why you would even try to pretend that it is. It's the same thing. It's literally the same thing. We have the same nipples. They are literally the same nipples. Calm down, okay? It's just a mother feeding her baby. There's nothing weird about it. Next up, we have a pretty fucked up one that is meanwhile in Ukraine, and it's people like chilling by the beach, drinking cocktails, playing games, and then someone comes and says, "Sir, it's soldier time. Makeup, lights, action." And he gets into a like army outfit and he stands in front of a green screen and they make it look like there's a war behind him and he's saying, "Situation desperate, death everywhere, send more money." And this is insanely fucked up. Holy shit. What the fuck? What the fuck? Trying to say that there's no war in Ukraine right now is one of the most fucked up and insensitive things. Like, cities have been bombed. Thousands of people have lost their homes, their lives. Like, it's not a small deal. And they do need aid, you know? Like, they're asking for a reason. They do need help. So many people are fucking dying. Trying to say that then it's all made up so that their country can get more money is an actual disgusting thing to say. And this comic lost them a lot of followers. Even a lot of the like terfs and things that followed them were like, this one crosses the line. This is incredibly fucked up. You've lost a follower today. Because like, yeah, what the fuck? Holy shit. I just, this person has gone just like so far with their political views to like the point where it's so harmful and so backwards. Next up, we have another long one. This one is 7 parts, so bear with me as I try to explain what's happening in them. It is saying over 6 billion trafficked. This is at an adoption agency or a surrogacy agency. It says, "Your order is ready." Here's a gay couple saying, "Our baby. Big tip for the surrogate, please. Would you like to keep in touch with her?" "No, we're done with her. Just send the tip." I mean, it's valid, honestly. That is how this works. That's kind of valid. And then it shows a woman who is pregnant. She's going and getting a scan. You know, she's eating. She's got a photo of the scan in her house. Doing yoga. She has a nursery set up for some reason. Her water breaks. She gives birth. The baby is immediately taken away from her. And then she's like looking out the hospital window to like a queue of other pregnant women who are presumably about to go through the same thing. The nurse comes in and says, "How are you doing? Where's my baby? I want to see my baby. The item has been shipped, I'm afraid. Thank you for your service. Successful product launch." And then it goes into saying, "My body, my choice. We bring happiness to others." And pregnant women going, "Oh, he kicked me." And then getting zapped by this weird little space robot thing saying, "No naming the product." What? I'm sorry. I just need a minute because what? How in the ever-living fuck did you get here? Like, do you know what surrogacy is? Like, okay, there's so many layers to this. We're gonna start with just saying, first and foremost, surrogates sign up for this. They know what they're signing up for. People are not getting pregnant and then having their babies taken away by gay people. That's not happening. One, surrogacy doesn't exist just for gay people. It exists for heterosexual couples who have fertility problems but want their own biological child. Like Kat's mom was a surrogate for her cousin because she had to have her ovaries removed due to cancer. She kept some eggs. She wanted her own child, so Kat's mom was a surrogate for her, right? That's how this works. It works for queer couples and it works for people with fertility issues or anything like that, right? And I'm pretty sure that's probably the majority of surrogates that happen, if I'm being completely honest. The surrogates sign up for it. They know what they're doing. Most of the time, you know, the parents who are going to adopt this baby are paying for all the bills and the appointments and stuff. They're often attending the appointments and stuff. You know, they're paying for it, they're attending it, they're getting the surrogate anything they need in order to help the pregnancy be helpful, in order to make their experience like more comfortable, etc. Because, you know, they're carrying their child, right? They signed up for this. A lot of the time it's a friend or a family member. And yes, there are sometimes people who do it for money, which that is a problem. If people are feeling like they have to do this in order to make a living, in order to be able to pay bills or whatever, they're like renting out their bodies. I understand that that's an issue, but that's a capitalism issue. That's not a gay issue. That's a capitalism issue, and that needs to be solved, because people shouldn't feel like they have to do that. You know, we should be adopting more and such. That's a separate thing. That's got actually nothing to do with this. Also, saying that these women are having their babies taken off them, that they're waiting, that they've set up a nursery, that they're waiting to have these babies and are being stolen. They can't even hold them. Like, fun fact here, but even if you are a surrogate mother, your name goes on the birth certificate. You give birth and your name goes on the birth certificate. You can change your mind. You've given birth to the baby. That is legally, after birth, your baby. If you don't want to give that baby to the people who are using you as a surrogate, you don't have to. You legitimately don't have to. It will crush them. You know, if you have like a relationship with them, they're probably never going to speak to you ever again. It'll crush them. But you do have that choice, because you have to go through a formal adoption process in order for the parents to actually have that baby. If you gave birth to it, that's your baby until they adopt it, which typically happens almost immediately, but that is how it goes. You can change your mind. No one is stealing these babies. You're not going to get paid if you're doing it in the way that, like, you are carrying the baby and stuff. They're not going to pay you, obviously. They might sue you to get all the money back for appointments and such. I'm not entirely sure how that works, but you can keep the baby if you want to. That is something you can do. So, like, literally everything about this comic, there's not a single truth in this comic other than capitalism is bad because some women feel like they need to rent out their bodies. That's a problem. However, that's not how you were depicting it. Here is another one about school, because obviously there can never be enough about sex in schools, right? It is an interview for a teacher. So tell us about your qualifications. I'm really into kink, pup play, age play, butt play, leather play, polyamory, glory holes, gangbangs, hentai, loli porn, cuties, child drag shows, satanism, ball worships, BDSM. And then it says, you're hired in front of an elementary school. One, I love that polyamory is in here amongst everything else. That doesn't make any sense at all. Polyamory isn't a kink. It's not even necessarily sex related. You can be asexual and polyamorous. Like, you can have multiple, like, just romantic partners. That's got nothing to do with sex. And even if it did, it's got nothing to do with kink or anyone else's business. I don't understand at all how polyamory fits into that, but whatever. I don't understand the obsession with sex in school. And I said that before, but it's, like, really concerning. Like, the call is coming from inside the house. If every time you think about school, you think about sex, that sounds like something you have to work out. And, like, I hate to break this to you, but teachers do have sex. They do have lives outside of school. There are teachers who have kinks, right? There are teachers who are into BDSM and leather and all that sort of stuff. Like, that is a thing, because teachers are people. They're adult people who have lives. However, they obviously don't bring that to school because it's completely inappropriate. And they're not going to talk about that at school, because it's not appropriate. You don't talk about it in the workplace. You don't talk about it at school. Like, it's truly not hard to grasp. And I need you to stop having this weird obsession with sex and school, because it's starting to seem a lot like projection, and it's a problem, and it's gross, and you need some help. Okay, this is 2 parts, and it is a school shooting drill. The teacher says, school shooting drill, into the safe room, trans kids first, cis white kids stand guard outside. And the cis white kids like, what? And then they're like, I think I'm trans. Me too. Okay, come in. Welcome, new trans folks. Stunning and brave. Is that everyone? My whole class is trans. And someone's like, there's still one holdout. I don't know in what world you think this is happening, because it's actually genuinely the opposite happening. There have been instances where they try to separate kids into like boys and girls, and then like non-binary kids get left out and like literally sent home before drills have happened. You know, discrimination happens against queer people. It doesn't happen against cis-het white people. That includes at school. Teachers aren't picking favorites here. Teachers aren't trying to save trans kids first. Teachers are trying to save everyone, except I'm sure there are some homophobic, transphobic teachers who maybe have their preferences against trans and queer students that you're not talking about here, because you love to be the victim. You want to be the victim so bad, but you aren't. You aren't the victim. No teacher is trying to turn kids trans. No teacher is favoring trans kids. Like, sometimes trans kids may get a little bit more attention. They may get a little bit more help, but that's a lot of the time because they might be struggling more, because they're having to deal with a lot more mental weight than other kids, because they're having to battle this thing internally while also doing school, where other kids aren't having to do that. But that's not exclusive to trans kids. There's a whole bunch of reasons why some kids may need more help than others. You know, there's a whole bunch of different mental and emotional struggles that kids are going to be going through that require more attention. That's not picking favorites. That's just offering support where it's needed. Okay? I think that the real problem here is the fact that you have to do school shooter drills. Why aren't we focusing on that? This comic just being normal, being like, look, they're favoring kids in the school shooter drill. Why is there a school shooter drill? Why is that a necessity? That's ridiculous. That's so scary and so fucked up. You shouldn't need to do those. You shouldn't have a school shooter problem. Can we focus on that instead? Can you make comics about that instead? About how fucking insane the gun laws are and how much that needs to be fixed? Because they shouldn't be necessary. You know, this whole comic would be completely obsolete if you just got your shit sorted and didn't need to have school shooter drills in the first place. Yeah? Great. Here is someone in front of a trans flag wearing the trans colors. He looks kind of cool. He's got like blue hair and a pink beard, which I'm kind of obsessed with. Saying gender affirmation care, saving kids' lives everywhere. And this one girl, this is an ongoing thing. He has recurring characters and themes in these stories. And there's this one character who has glasses that mean you can see through everyone's bullshit and see what they're really saying. And she puts them on this boy's face because he's clapping for gender affirmation care. And he sees this like kind of scary person saying, cut off your dicks. Because obviously saying gender affirming care exists and it's helping kids is the same thing as saying, hey, children, all of you, get bottom surgery. It's so wild because something existing is not just forcing it on people. It's like, I have a skin condition, right, that required me to take really strong, like, antibiotics and other medication for a period of my life, right? There was several months where I was taking this medication. I was going to a specialist, which is a dermatologist, right, and sorting that out because I knew that existed. But that's something I needed for my specific issue, right? I didn't go out and start force-feeding everyone my medication. I didn't start telling everyone I know, you know, that you have to go to this doctor and get this medication for a condition that you don't have, right? Like, me knowing a dermatologist exists isn't what gave me my skin condition. I knew the dermatologist existed, and so it helped me with the condition that I had. You know what I mean? Like, if I break my arm, I know that I can go to a hospital and get a cast. That's a treatment option that I have, right? My sister broke her arm really, really badly once, right? And she's had to have surgery and stuff for it. So I know that care is available. But I didn't go and get the same surgeries on my arm just because I know it's available to me. It really helped her because without it, her arm would be even more fucked than it already is, right? Like, but it's not for me because I didn't break my fucking arm, did I? I didn't dislocate my humerus, so I don't have to get all the things that are required for that, but I know it exists. You know, like, having gender affirming care is there for trans kids who want it. It's not for everyone. Having it exist isn't telling everyone they have to do it. Are you what is wrong with you? How do you read those two things the same? You don't. You clearly don't. You just love saying shit when it makes no sense, and it's so illogical and, like, just fucking ridiculous. Like, Jesus Christ, bro. Stop making shit up. Stop fear-mongering. Stop saying literally the most ridiculous and idiotic things. And you'd think that people have any common sense, right? But the replies are like, yeah, so true. Fuck trans rights. Fuck gender affirming care. Like, what's wrong with you? Surely you can all see how ridiculous and idiotic this is, right? Like, holy shit. Anyway, I think I'm gonna end on this one. I've got a bunch more saved though, so if you want to see a part 2, if you want to see, well, I guess a part 4, if you want to see another one of these, let me know, because I do have more saved. I just have been ranting for ages, so I don't have time to do any more. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you did enjoy it. Over 60% of you are regular viewers but are not subscribed, so don't forget to check and subscribe if you can. I appreciate it. While you're down there, you may as well leave a like and a comment if you enjoyed. A massive thank you to my Sprout and Above patrons, whose names are up on the screen right now. And a huge thank you to my Kiwi Cat patrons: Harry, Bobby, Sparrow, Josh, Mandy, Ikazel, Jessica, Eldo, Danielle, Anoli Like Cannoli, Elias, Apollo, Taylor's Trying, Boston, Chris, and Amelia. I appreciate you all so much. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to go on Patreon, you can go to patreon.com/savvycat or click the top link in the description. It starts at as little as £1 a month for my videos a day early, as well as podcasts a week early. And then for £3 and up, you get things such as outtakes, bonus mini podcasts, live streams, vlogs, music updates, and more. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, The Queer Kiwi, and Twitter, That Queer Kiwi. I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Keep fighting. I love you. Mwah.